Hello, and welcome to the Brutal Iron Gym podcast, where our goal is to cut through the BS and deliver the brutal truth about topics related to health and happiness. Today's podcast number 1617. The topic is mindset, and the title is Leg Day Motivation. So, we recently started having a board in the gym where members could write down any kind of questions that they had, anything that they wanted to ask that could be addressed in the podcast. So it's fun. It's awesome. People have been starting to write things down in the gym. You're always welcome to email me, brutalirongym@gmail.com, and I'll answer any question you have for free, totally, on a podcast. So somebody recently, it was interesting because previously the board was for motivational statements. And every now and then people will still sprinkle a motivational statement on the board when it's supposed to be more so for questions. I don't mind. It's awesome. So what I started to do was if somebody wrote more of an inspiration type thing, I was like, screw it. I'll make a podcast on the inspiration. So whether it's a question, whether they're trying to do an inspiration, I figured I'll just have fun with it and put some extra content up. Maybe, have a fun way of expanding on what they wrote. So recently somebody wrote inspiration for leg day. You can't spell legendary without leg day. So legendary, L-E-G, is in the leg, L-E-G, is in the word legendary. So they said that as a motivation, you can't spell legendary, legendary, without leg day. So be more, do more. That's what they wrote. Okay, so I liked it. And one of the things it made me think of is, okay, well, what are some thoughts that I would have in regards to leg day motivation? What are some things that I think through? What are some things that I've talked to clients about? And how can we build on motivation and create motivation on days when we don't feel like doing it? So I have 4 things that I wanted to share. The first one is when I was struggling to grow the business. When I first started the gym, I was working at minimum 50 hours of in-person with clients a week. So face-to-face, I was with them from the very first minute of the session to the very last minute of the session. So it wasn't like they spent 15 minutes on cardio, then I trained them for 15 minutes and we called it a half-hour session. These were 60-minute sessions face-to-face. And I was doing that a minimum of 50 hours a week. Most weeks it was 55 to 60. Then, if you trained with me, I wrote free training programs for the free workouts for the workouts they had to do without me. So people got free training programs, and I wrote nutrition programs. So if you trained with me, which was only $20 an hour when I first opened the gym, because I wanted to build up, the name of the gym and build up a list of clients. So it's $20 an hour for a training session. If you got at least one training session, just one, once a week with me, I would write a free training program, free nutrition program for you. It was stupid. It was a stupid amount of work because I still had to clean the gym. I still had to try to go find more equipment because I was filling out the gym. I mean, good God, it was exhausting. Absolutely exhausting. Owning a gym was a dream, but it damn sure felt like a nightmare at that time. Now, I was very blessed, loved it, and I was thankful to be working so hard at something that I loved. So, there was definitely good things in it, but good God, I was tired. I was just so tired all the time. Ugh. So one of the things I started to do for motivation was I started listening to and watching ESPN 30 for 30. So there's these not fun videos, gosh. There's videos talking about athletes and motivational stories. And they're presented on ESPN 30 for 30 and E60. So you can find them on YouTube. I remember there was this one story. There was this young guy, really good baseball player, really good high-level high school baseball player. And he wanted to go play in college. He'd gotten some college offers, and he was excited for it. But going through his senior year, I forget some of the exact details, but going through his senior year, he started to realize that he was feeling really stiff in his joints. And he was having trouble with flexibility, mobility, just kind of wasn't sure what was going on. Getting a lot of tests done, but it kept getting worse and worse and worse. So as they're telling the story, it sounds as though family members and everybody are telling the story as if the kid passed away. And at the end of it, what ends up happening is he had a disease in which his muscles calcified. So his muscles turned into bone, and he couldn't move. And at the end of the story, he had talked about, well, if I couldn't play sports, maybe I could become a sports caster, like newscaster. So he could go do, that could be fun. He could do an announcer or something at a game or do something like that through the radio. But unfortunately, his voice box, those muscles also calcified, so he lost his voice. And at the end of the episode, he's laying on a blanket in the back of a conference room. He's listening to this conference about like sports and sports media, and the kid can't move, can't talk. He's laying there kind of like warped position using this, synthesizer kind of computer thing to talk. And he was only in his early 20s. And I remember thinking to myself holy shit. I'm whining and complaining as I get to run my own business, get to do what I love, get to help people. I get to work out with all the equipment I want because I got to buy whatever I wanted. It was tiring, and there's realness to the struggle I was facing. But man, when you think about the alternatives, really, really made me more grateful for what I did have, and it made me look harder for the positives. And I just remember I can't imagine what that kid must feel. Just the level of anger, the level of disappointment. Oh my gosh. Overwhelming. And I use that sometimes. I use that for sure at that time. Was just remember that there's someone in the world who can't do what I'm, taking for granted. So if you think about leg day, if we're thinking about leg day motivation, there's someone in the world who doesn't have the ability to train their legs. The ability to train their legs was taken from them. They didn't do anything. They didn't deserve it in any way. It was taken from them. They didn't have a choice. And there's not a damn thing they can do about it, ever. It's gone. Completely gone. They didn't have a choice. But you do. You have your legs. You can choose to train them. Be grateful that you get to choose your pain. You get to choose the pain of a leg day. And be grateful that your pain is progress. You're going to train your legs, suffer pain, but it's going to make you even better. That kid can't move his damn legs. He's in pain for nothing. He gains nothing. You're choosing your pain, and you get to progress from it. If you can train your legs, do it. Second thing I think of is that every day that goes by is one day closer to when the possibility of reaching my goals is no longer possible. I remember I was training a client one time. He was in his late 60s. And I've mentioned this a couple of times on podcasts before, but he was in his late 60s, was struggling to get his nutrition under control, training pretty consistently, but would just always do like crazy. He thought like if I moved 1,000 miles an hour with 1,000 pounds, I'll get huge. And I'm like, oh dear God, no, you're going to die. Stop doing that. So he was in his late 60s. And we were doing some arm training one day. And I remember we were talking about nutrition. He had kind of shit the bed on his nutrition. And he was telling me, someday I really want to get my nutrition in check. I'm going to really get my protein up. And I'd really love, I want to build 20-inch arms. I'm someday I'm going to do this. Someday I'm going to do that. And I looked at him and I was like, dude, you're running out of some days. I was like, you're in the freaking 60s. The some days that you have left, they're soon going to become yesterday. Real quick. I mean, in your 60s, how many damn some days do you have? You have a hell of a lot more yesterdays behind you than you have some days. You have amazing amount of some days. You do have some days. But damn, that's today. You cannot wait. It is today. Your someday is today. You have waited too damn long. You don't have some days anymore. You have 2 days. Right now, today. You damn sure better take care of today, because it will soon become yesterday. And then you're going to be 1 day closer to the point where you can never reach your goal. Whether you're in your 20s, 30s, 40s, whatever it is, that day is coming a hell of a lot faster than you think it is. I'm 39, and I've already realized that there were some things I wanted to achieve, and I'm like, oh, piss. If I really want that, dear God, the amount of sacrifice I would have to make at this point to try to get it. Is it worth it? It was easier 10, 15 years ago than it is now. And I'm like, oh, shit. When did that happen? When did that come? I don't remember that day. I don't remember, seeing that in my calendar and there was no alert on my phone. Don't wait. If you're waiting for someday, you're an idiot. You're an idiot. Because the longer you wait, there is absolutely no notice. No one will tell you. There is absolutely no signal whatsoever. Is someday will turn into one day, which will turn into yesterday. There will come a day when what you wanted to achieve can no longer be achieved. It's impossible. It's coming. I promise you it's coming. Like death and taxes. That day is coming. You will have a day when you cannot reach your goal. Don't wait until that day to then realize how badly you wanted it. You know you want it, and right now you can do something about it. What the hell are you doing? If you can do it, do it. Third thing I think of, I feel like a psychopath because I get like all fired up and now I'm trying to be calm. But the third thing I think of is to not accept avoidance. So don't accept avoidance. A weakness in any area allows weakness in all areas. So I remember when I was younger, I went through like an anorexic phase. I ate one meal a day and tried to exercise all the calories off for like a year and a half. It was awful. Stupid idea. Don't ever do it. Like 0 out of 5 stars. Would not recommend. So I remember whenever I started trying to eat again, I learned a lot about nutrition, and that helped me. The more I understood what food could do for me, I was more willing to eat it. So that's one of the approaches I take when I work with people with eating disorders, is education helps us a ton. And I remember when I was trying to eat and grow, and I was eating good food, and it was the amount of food I should have been eating. It was a good thing. But I would find that I wouldn't finish all my food. So I would eat through a meal, but there'd be, 2 or 3 bites left. And I would dump the food in the garbage, and I'd move on my day. Because I'd like, I'm kind of full, I don't want to eat that last bit. And I would see that happen, and then happen, and then happen, and I'm like, oh, damn. I wonder if me not finishing my food is carrying over. I wonder, am I not finishing the last rep or two of a really hard set when I really could be doing it? Am I, taking a day off when I could have still done something smaller? Calves or abs or something shorter. Maybe just work out for 10 minutes if I couldn't even get a whole workout in. I wondered where that weakness when it came to finishing my food was showing up in other places in my life. A weakness in any area that you allow to stay, that you avoid addressing. A weakness in any area allows for the acceptance of a weakness in all areas. If you're willing to accept that weakness, what other weaknesses are you accepting? What other weaknesses are you turning a blind eye to and pretending like they don't exist? What other weaknesses are you missing that you could be addressing if you'd address these first damn ones so then you could find out that the other weaknesses are even there? You're blinded by the weaknesses you can see. You can't even tell the ones that are actually there. If you accept weakness in your life, if you accept avoiding addressing something that you know will be hard, that will be tough, that's challenging, and you're avoiding it, that's a mental weakness. You are not mentally strong. If you accept avoidance, leg day's tough, I don't like training legs. Yeah, well, what else are you going to skip on? Maybe you don't like eating all your protein. Maybe you don't like getting in all your fluids. Maybe you don't like going to bed on time. Where else is that showing up? If you accept mental weakness in any area of your life, it will show up in all areas. If you do not attack weaknesses, if you do not attack what you believe to be holding you back, then it will 100% hold you back. And you will miss every other thing that's hiding behind it. A weakness in any area allows weaknesses in all areas. Don't accept avoidance. Don't allow yourself to avoid addressing a weakness. That is mental weakness. So don't avoid the hard work. Because that is the way. That's the thing. If you freaking go after it and you crush it, you're going to be a huge step closer. You'll then be able to see the next step, the next step, the next step, and you'll be there. Why put in all the other work if you're not going to put the work in that area? Because that's the one that's holding you back. Don't be weak. Don't avoid. The fourth one, the last one, is if you said you want it, shut up and do the work. Pretty simple. I remember there was a client I had one time. She was getting ready for a competition, like an aesthetic competition, and she was getting grumpy and mad at her husband who had food in the house. It wasn't even like that amazing of food. It wasn't like he was like eating like chocolate cake in front of her. He just had little things here and there, or he'd eat a little extra. And I remember one time she was like complaining to me about him having that food. And I looked at her and I said, "This is your goal, not his." And she looked at me like, how dare you? And I looked at her like, what the hell's your problem? So it was a fun little stare down. But I told her, I said, it's your goal, not his. He didn't sign up for it. He might have agreed to support you. I hope he did. If they're, I hope your significant other supports your goals. But it doesn't mean that they're going to sacrifice to the same level that you will. And that's actually kind of selfish to expect them to. That wasn't, he didn't say he was going to do it. He didn't even need to do it. Why the hell would he want to do that? It's not his thing. Now, does he need to be eating chocolate cake in front of you? Hell no. But if he wants to have, a little extra food here or there, if he wants to drink a beer at night, or if he wants to do this or that, then that's his life, and it would be the same as his and her. So, or her and her, his, whatever the hell it is. Okay? Whoever you are, the people around you didn't decide to accept your goal. It's your goal. It's your work. It's your shit to deal with, not theirs. If you said you want it, whatever it is that you want to work on, whatever you say your goals are, whatever you tell other people, whatever you tell yourself, if you said you want it, then do it. Shut the hell up and do it. Stop blaming other people. Stop looking for ways out. Well, maybe if I, ate this instead of that because I like it a little more, or this and that, or maybe I do this, blah, 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 blah. Shut the hell up. Shut the hell up. This is it. This is what you said you wanted. Shut the hell up and figure it out. You can talk if what you're talking about is trying to solve it, or how you're attacking it, or how you're growing through it. Then talk to the, rooftops. Tell people what you're figuring out. Share with everybody, how you're progressing, what you're accomplishing, how you're staying motivated. If you're doing a great job, then do not be quiet. Kick ass. Show other people how to do it. Share it with the world. But if all you're doing is bitching, shut up. Shut up. It was your choice. Whatever you're struggling with, figure it out. Attack it. Go for it. But if nothing can be changed, if it's just part of the process, then shut up and just do it. If you want it, just do it. If you got into it and you're like, oh shit, this is not what I want, that's okay. Maybe modify the goal, lessen the intensity, back off a little bit. Doesn't mean you have to quit entirely. Maybe you want to quit entirely, but you can pull back a little bit. You know, if you feel like if it's overwhelming, then try something less intense. Try half as intense. You know, try to figure it out slower. Once you figure it out, then push harder. So I'm not saying if you're absolutely miserable to shut up. I'm saying if you're going to go ahead and go through it anyhow, shut up. Just do it. Just do the damn work. That's it. One of the things that has helped me the most in life is whenever I decided on a goal, I decided once and I was done. I did a challenge one time with myself. I actually done a lot of challenges over time. I gave up ice cream for a year once because I felt like I was losing control. I was eating ice cream too often, 2 or 3 times a week, because I was using it as like coping, soothing mechanism for how stressed I was with work. So I was like, well, this is bullshit. That's mental weakness. I'm going to give up ice cream for a year. So I gave up ice cream for a whole year. Didn't eat it for a whole year. I remember one time I wanted to be more disciplined and be more of a morning person because I'm naturally not a morning person. So I was like, I'm going to do 6 a.m. cardio every damn day. And I had a goal for 10 months. In 10 months, I had a client who was going to do a bodybuilding show. And I was like, well, I want to get ready and see what I can look like by that time. So for 10 months, I did cardio at 6 in the morning. If I had to travel or do something, my rule was I had to get it done beforehand. I couldn't do it the day before, so it was between midnight and 6 a.m. was my window to do the cardio. That was it. So I had to get the cardio in like by 6 a.m. 6 a.m. every day. No excuses, no bullshit. So once I decided to do it, I said, you know what? I think that'd be really good discipline. It's going to force me to become more of a morning person. So I know that it will be good for me, so I'm going to do it. I'm going to do 6 a.m. cardio for 10 months, and I'm not going to take a single day off. And then I was done. I decided it. That was the decision. I said, I'm going to do this every day for 10 months at 6 a.m. And then the next day when my alarm went off, I didn't say, oh, do I feel like doing it? Of course I didn't feel like doing it. No shit, I didn't feel like getting up at 6 in the morning and do cardio. If I asked myself that question every day, I'd never run a damn day in the morning. Like, of course you're not going to want to do it. Why the hell did you ask yourself that question? Don't ask yourself that question. Do I feel like doing it today? No, absolutely not. You will not feel like it. You have a million other things to do. You have a shit ton of stress on you. You will not want to do it. It's not whether you want to do it in that moment. That's a dumb question. You would say to yourself, is at one point in time, I knew this was good for me. I decided that this would be a good goal for me, so I'm going to see it through. So I got up for 10 months in a row, never missed a single day, and I did 6 a.m. cardio. There was a time when I wanted to grow, so I thought drinking a gallon of milk a day would help me grow. I did it for 2 years, never missed a single day. And there was a shit ton of days in there that would have been really easy to fall short. There's an enormous amount of strength inside you when you stop giving yourself the choice. And you say, I know this is good for me. No, maybe I want it. That's a good thing to ask for sure. But I know it's good for me. So I'm going to do it. And then I'm just going to do it. Like I'm just going to say that I want to do it. And I'm going to follow through. If I know it's good for me, and I said I want to do it, then I'm going to do it. I'm not going to redecide every damn day because I will not want to do it every day. I'm going to decide once, then I'm going to shut the hell up and just do it. If there's an obstacle in my way, I'll figure it out. If the obstacle is so large that I have to pull back on some of my intensity and do it a little bit slower, fine. But I'm going to figure it out. I'm going to do it because that's what I said I wanted to do. Because I knew it was good for me. That's it. You said you wanted it. Shut up and do it. Okay. Let me calm down a little bit. But these are 4 things that I think through. And it depends on days whenever I'm fired up and I need the motivation, like angry, kind of like we talk about tough love, that tough love balance. Some days I need the toughness, so I have to be kind of a grump towards myself. But some days I need the love. And I'm like, dude, you're struggling with everything in life. Everything is overwhelming. Take a deep breath. You're doing okay. You are doing okay. Let's just look for the minimum that we can get in today. You're fine. We'll get the minimum in, and then we'll crush it tomorrow. So there are like tough love. There's tough days. There's love days. You need that balance. But how I motivate myself for days such as leg days, or the days you don't want to do it, but you know you should, is I remember the story of people who can't. I remember that one day will come a day when I can't. I remember that if I avoid the work today, where else am I allowing the avoidance to hold me back in the other areas of my life? And I remember that if I said I wanted it, if I knew it was good for me, then I should follow through and I should do it. Okay? So I hope that you can think of these things and they help you with your next leg day motivation. I got fired up. Hopefully I didn't tick anybody off too bad. So good luck to you. But if you have any questions, any follow-ups, if you want to share what your leg day motivation is, our email is brutalironjim@gmail.com. I'd absolutely love to hear from everybody. I really enjoy the podcast, and I enjoy hearing from you, the listeners. So thank you. Email me anytime. Any questions, anything you need. brutalironjim@gmail.com. If you like today's podcast, please share it. When you share the podcast with people, let them know that they can ask questions for free, and then that's the whole point of the service. Thank you to those who donate to support the podcast. There is a high hosting cost every year. I give an hour to it every day. I answer questions and everything. I help everybody. I love it, love it, love it, but it does have a high cost. So if you want to donate something small, just a couple bucks a month, it does help. It really, truly does. And you can donate on our website at www.brutalironjim.com. Also, if you like the information we share in our podcast, you can find more from us on our social media channels. Find us and follow us on Instagram, and find us and follow us on YouTube. Both places we're under the name Brutal Iron Jim. As always, I hope this was helpful, and thank you for listening.